GTW 5629 was an Alco product built for the Grand Trunk Western in 1924 and would have been turning 100 in 2024. After many years of freight trains, commuter train work, etc., the 5629 was retired, but not before it ran a few excursions around Michigan, which is where Richard Jensen rode on one of them and really liked her, and with that, he purchased the 5629 for her scrap value. After her rescue from scraps, she became an excursion star during the 1960s, and it was so much so that even at one point Southern Railway President and future Amtrak CEO W. Graham Clare Jr. actually offered to purchase the locomotive for use on the Southern Steam program and cosmetically alter it to look like a Southern PS4 class locomotive, of which one still remains today. Jensen denied the offer though. But to be honest, that kinda sounds cool. Eventually though, Jensen lost interest in hosting steam excursions for the 5629, and she pulled her last train in spring of 1973. Then, 4 years later, he broke his back moving a fridge for a friend, and the medical bills crippled his finances, and he couldn't afford to pay rent or even store the 5629 at that point. Eventually though, he would make an agreement with the Rock Island to store the 5629 at the Rock Island's Blue Island yard. But then, in 1980, the Rock Island died. And after that, Metra, RTA at the time but whatever, took over the yard. Metra wanted Jensen to move the 5629, but he couldn't, because for one, the 5629 was on a landlocked piece of track, and two, she was vandalized while she was stored, including a lot of critical components to move her, like the bearings on her axles. However, at this point, Jensen was becoming a lot less sympathetic, and at this point started planning to get the 5629 scrapped by Metra. Most likely in an attempt to recoup his finances from the medical bills after he broke his back. Metra did not want to scrap the 5629, but after a bunch of antics by Jensen, plus him selling off a couple of parts from the 5629 to local rail fans, Metra had enough and gave them little other option but to go to court. Metra filed suit, and the court ordered that if the 5629 was not moved, she would have to be destroyed. At this point, rail fans and railroad museums around the area panicked and tried to get the 5629 moved. Both the Illinois Railway Museum and the Mid-Continent Railway Museum both made offers to Jensen to purchase the 5629, but Jensen refused both offers. And even Metra themselves actually petitioned the court to seize the 5629 so that Metra could just give it to a museum or whatever. But the courts denied this because legally the 5629 was Jensen's, not Metra's. Sadly though, it was no use, and on July 1st, 1987, Metra received a court order to have the 5629 disposed of, and reluctantly, Metra contacted a salvage company to dispose of the 5629, and by the end of July that year, the 5629 was gone. Of course, Jensen sued, but ironically, the court told him to off. After this, the railfan community was pissed at Jensen. And people were pissed at Metra too. As Andrew Rail-A-Bammers put it, angry rail fans spread false rumors that Metra hated steam locomotives and was to blame for 5629. Thunderbolt 1000 Siren Productions also says something similar in his video of steam locomotives that got scrapped after being saved. But in my opinion, if Metra really hated steam and wanted the 5629 gone, the 5629 would have been gone by either late 1981 or early 1982 at the latest, and mere weeks after Metra took over the Blue Island Yard at the earliest. Rumors about steam locomotives aren't an excuse to underfund Metra, though. As for the 5629, she has two other sisters that survive, 5632 and 5030, and ACL 1504 looks a lot like her, and she's being restored too. As for other Grand Trunk Western steamers, there's been Grand Trunk Western 4070, and of course, 6325 returned to steam. We miss you, Greg Scholl. Besides, as much as people say that they want the 5629 to be rebuilt, I have other ideas for locomotives we could bring back from the history books.